Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be with you here today in the sunny city of Abu Dhabi. Today, I'm going to be talking in my other hat as chairman of the Emirates Growth Fund. And it's only fitting to use this opportunity, a big platform like Abu Dhabi Finance Week, to talk about a unique offering that was in the making for a whole year. In my previous capacity in 2020, I was assigned the portfolio of entrepreneurship and SMEs. And it was a very unique time to really watch closely a sector that's very vital, but at the same time, very volatile. It was during the peak of COVID, scarcity of funding, scarcity of business. So we really were able to analyze what do entrepreneurs need. And what we found out initially from a financial perspective, that even though SMEs represent 90% of all registered companies, they also employ more than 80% of all private sector jobs, and they contribute more than 60% of non-oil GDP. However, when it comes to financing, they only get 10% of lending. And that is a great obstacle for these companies. Now, what we saw as well is that on the private equity side, the venture capital side, there's no short of capital in the UAE. If you take the average of the past 5 or 10 years, of all the VC capital employed in the MENA region, 50% is in the UAE, and the remaining 50% is across all MENA. Whether it's international equity or local funds, were quite funded on the early stage. And then came the stage B funding, which was also increasingly available in the UAE. However, there was one specific sector that we saw was underserved, which is the brick and mortar SMEs. Companies with the likes of Talabat, Careem, and others have no issue raising funding across several rounds. But when you come to an entrepreneur that's creating a brick and mortar company, an industrial company, an agri-business, a healthcare business, it's very difficult to grow that company. So as a government-owned entity, we decided as EDB, the Emirates Development Bank, that in some cases, lending is not the right tool to grow. You need growth capital. And with that came the vision of Emirates Growth Fund. And what we saw was the biggest challenge that the market does not understand the proposition. So let me just try to make it very simple. To be eligible for funding, and we have 1 billion dirhams as stage 1 of funding, you'd have to be making at least 10 million dirhams in revenue or foresight into profitability. We invest between 10 to 50 million in these companies, and we only take a minority stake, so 20 to 49%. What happens there is that we give you growth capital that's almost equal to the valuation of the company, so 50-50 or 49-51%. But also we make sure that we add value beyond equity. We make sure that we get an international or independent board member. Through our network, through our partners, for every company we invest in, we bring the best global expertise to have that company look into the future of growth. Because it's very easy to grow within the UAE, but then to expand, you need a different skill set. We also ensure, secondly, beyond the oversight and the strategic oversight, we also ensure governance. We mandate that these companies get their books together and put a proper governance, because in the future, we want to exit. We don't want to stay there for the long term. We want to be there we're patient, we say for 5 to 10 years, but our goal is not to stay there indefinitely. So again, we are very happy to be here today. If you have any companies that are in industrial sector, healthcare sector, food security, advanced technology, please make sure you make them aware that there's a fund called Emirates Growth Fund, and we will be more than happy to be the engine of growth that will help these companies grow and add value to the UAE. Once again, very happy to be here today, and I wish you all the best day today convening in this great event in Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much.